screen and share the lyrics too. We're going to sing I Release and I Let Go because that is the name of the talk title today. So it seemed like that was a no-brainer. We have to do this one. So if you want to mute yourself, you can sing this along with Richard. All right, Richard.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. Didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. Didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you've got to let it go. Let it all go. And this is what you have to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.
Hoot, hoot. Thank you. That's beautiful. Oh, so we have a real treat today. We have, is Janet there? Where is she? Oh, there you are, right in front of me. You're in the middle square for me. I should have seen that. Janet Bradberry, who, by the way, I want to say, passed her ministerial panels in the end of January and is now Reverend Janet Bradberry with Centers for Spiritual Living. Woohoo! Congrats, Janet. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you.
And she is our practitioner of the day. And so I am going to turn things over to her. She's going to do our invocation, our opening prayer. And I have a quote for her too. I have her quote and I'll post it when the time comes. Okay, Janet.
Thank you. So please join me for the invocation. I know there is only one power and one presence in the universe and in my life. And that is God the good, all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful, and ever-present. I'm one with God. I know we're each one with God. And I accept that we are all able to release the things we don't want and embrace the things we do want. And that this is an easy and effortless process. And that we are building the life we want right now. And I give thanks for us all being together. And I release this to divine natural law, and so it is. And I'd like to read a quote for you. Okay. And I kind of put together some quotes from 3 sources. Why not release all of the masks we think are protecting us? We should forever be freed from all congested thoughts. I give thanks that I am ready to release all self-imposed torment and free myself from the effects of negative thinking. I am an unlimited spiritual being. And I'd like to just say that I am so happy to have passed my ministerial panels, and I release all the negative that it took to get there, and I embrace all the positive. And it's been a process, and I'm so happy, and I know that we each have things that we struggle with. And I especially thought this quote about I release myself from all self-imposed torment was a good one. And I thought, I'm pretty good at creating self-imposed torment, but I am vowing not to do so. And I saw Eddie Murphy last night on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and he said, they were asking him, you know, how did he succeed so well? Because he really succeeded at an early age and it was in a lot of movies. He said, I just released all the negative and I embraced all the positive. And I thought, yeah, that's what it's all about. And I'm so happy to be here with you. And is there a quote of the day? Or what comes first? Sorry, what comes next?
Let's just take a nice deep breath and a
Oh, that's right. We
centering.
have a minute to center. Yes. So let's just center. And now let's read March's affirmation, and you may want to make sure you're muted. I live in wide-eyed wonder of the possibilities of life. Today, I express the possibilities of the wholeness of life within me. I'm grateful for all the good that I can imagine and all that I have yet to imagine as it becomes my expanding experience of good. And so it is.
Thank you so much, Janet. I really appreciate it. That was great. So wonderful. And I love the story about Eddie Murphy. That's I love hearing it in the real world, how it works. So Richard, our fabulous musician, is going to give us a beautiful song.
There we go. Yeah, this song is by a young fella from Jamaica, and it was back in 1972. Someone named Johnny Nash, I can see clearly now. Somebody named Jimmy Cliff had a hit with that. Bob Marley had a hit with this song as well. It's a great song, and it seems to me that these moments of insight we're talking about here are what we live for. It feels so good when we learn something new that tells us something we need. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. Gonna be a bright, bright sunshiny day. Gonna be a bright, bright sunshiny day. I think I can make it now the pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright sunshiny day. Bright, bright sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue skies. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. Gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Oh, look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, nothing but blue skies. Ah, ah, ah. Oh, I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Here comes the sun. Blessings to all.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Richard. So even if it isn't actually physically sunny, I'm feeling sunny inside. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, I have to give a shout out. I hope this doesn't embarrass you, Marcia, but I want to show you these beautiful flowers in back of me, which my beloved friend Marcia sent me in memory of my mother and her making her transition. So I'm so grateful, and I get to share them with all of you today. That's really wonderful. Oh, so good morning and welcome to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living's online Sunday service. And this morning's topic is release and let go, which is really why I chose that opening song, because we'd have to start with that song if that's going to be our talk title. You know, it sounds like such a simple idea, right? To just let go of thinking and feeling that no longer serves us, and to make space and to welcome in some new idea or way of being. And yet, because, at least this is my experience, because we are such creatures of habit, sometimes it requires a little bit more focus and attention to really shift our attention from what is to what is possible in our lives. And also last week, I promised that I would talk a little bit about the practice of visioning too. And I'll speak to that briefly near the end of my talk. So first, I'd like to come to this idea of release and let go from a slightly different direction. I want to begin by asking you a question. And I invite you to just pause and reflect for a moment before you actually answer the question in your head or out loud. It doesn't matter if you're muted. So, and I want us all to be very clear about what we really believe, and to notice if there are any reservations or old thoughts that pop up when I ask you the question. So the question is, take a deep breath. Do you believe? Do you really believe that you are a center of creation? Do you believe that you are a center of creation. Or to put it another way, a slightly different twist, do you believe that you are a center for transformation? Right where you are, without having to do anything or become anything, do you believe that you are empowered to create, to co-create with the power of the divine presence that's already within you? To co-create something new or anything in your life. Do you believe that? Because that's what we teach in Science of Mind. That's what we teach. That's who we are. Whether we're conscious of it or not, we are points of creative expression for spirit. We are always co-creating by our very nature. And we're empowered to choose what we co-create by where we put our focus, by where we put our attention and how we feel, by what we observe. And that word observe is important here. But by what we hold in our consciousness, the consciousness, a state of being, not only in our head, in our conscious thought, but in our heart, and the feeling tone of our body, the resonance that we hold in consciousness. One of the most important and fascinating things for me about the study of metaphysics, the study of science of mind, has always been our ability to participate with the creative nature of spirit, of our source, the universal presence that through our connection to this underlying nature of the undivided whole. I love that idea, the undivided whole, the universal presence that's already within us. We're empowered to participate with the creative nature of the divine itself. Think about that. We're not spectators or bystanders in this world that's just happening around us. We are creative centers, a creative presence within the activity, the order, and the intelligence that created and continues to create everything in the universe. Oh my God, that is big. The divine presence is alive and active in us. To me, that's kind of mind-blowing. I am an active, creative center, empowered by the divine nature and order of God. And so are you. Can you feel that in your being? That's really who you are. So I'm curious, did you feel any resistance or any second thoughts come up when I asked you if you believe that you are a creative center, a center of transformation? And if you did, are you ready to shift that thinking? I believe, and my experience has taught me, that we shift that old way of thinking by recognizing the resistance and opening ourselves up to a greater truth, because there's always a greater truth. And we do that through spiritual practice, by finding the presence of the truth within us and aligning with the power of this presence, which is the power we use to co-create and to transform our lives. And as we change, as we allow and welcome that transformation, we change the world. In Science of Mind, we say that God, spirit, the all that is perfect. Perfect, meaning that nothing is missing, that everything lives within this realm of the infinite possibility. Everything exists here in potential. And because there's only one life and we're living within it, we are connected to this infinite potential. I think of it like this. I've been trying to wrap my brain around how everything that exists in the all that is, in the infinite undivided whole and potential, is available to all of us equally. So when we experience love, we think of it as our love. But the truth is that love doesn't belong to anybody. It doesn't belong to me, and it doesn't belong to you any more than any other aspect of God, of this undivided whole, belongs to anyone. Compassion doesn't belong to you, and it doesn't belong to me. We may experience love or compassion in our own way, but it doesn't belong to us. It's universal and it's available. So let's say, for instance, if we want to experience prosperity, we're empowered to tap into and align with that truth, which is a quality that already exists within this infinite source. It lives in potential within us. And we experience it to the degree that we decide, and here's where I said that word observe was important, to the degree that we decide to observe it, to put our focus and our attention on it. So I have this wonderful quote from Ernest Holmes I'm going to share with you. I think it's beautiful and describes it so well. He wrote in The Science of Mind, 1, 1, 1, in all, over all, and through all. Talk, live, act, believe, and know that you are the center of this one. All the power there is, all the presence there is, all the love there is, all the peace there is, all the good there is, and the only God there is omnipresent, everywhere present. Consequently, the infinite is in and through mankind and is in and through everything. I love this affirmation. Act as though I am, and I will be. Ah, that guy was brilliant. I love to read his proclamations, let's call them. We are centers of transformation. We're centers of co-creation because of our oneness with this underlying undivided whole, because of our oneness with life, with spirit. It's the essence of who we are, and we're using spirit's creative nature all the time. And most of the time, we don't even realize it. But the creative law of the universe invites us to be participators in our own emerging world. Each of us is a co-creator, a co-producer of a possible world. Each of us is a point of consciousness that is empowered to focus our individualized creative consciousness on what it is that we want to draw forward into our own personal experience. And this realization of how empowered we are, it not only inspires me, but it sparks this deep sense of gratitude in me, and it makes me want to explore and create even more of what is possible in this undivided whole. And what is possible is infinite, and I almost can't wrap my brain around that. Last week I mentioned that I'd been listening to a really interesting video, a YouTube video, about a physicist named David Bohm, who I said was a very significant figure in theoretical physics in the 20th century. I mentioned that Albert Einstein called him his spiritual son. And in that same video, it also said that Bohm had a 25-year relationship with Krishnamurti. You've probably heard of Krishnamurti. Krishnamurti was an Indian philosopher and speaker and writer. And he was born in the late 19th century and he died in 1986. Krishnamurti's main teaching was really about consciousness, about how thought directs and creates our lives. Sound familiar? And here's a quote from him. I have a beautiful quote from him that I want to share. Let's see if I can get this up here. Oh, this is the old quote. Let me get up the new one here. Here's Krishnamurti's quote. So the problem is our consciousness. I don't know if I'd call it a problem, but he did. Our consciousness, which means the way you think, the way you live, the way you believe, the way you react, your behavior, all that is your consciousness, which is your life. That consciousness is you. And one of the things that that really drew me to this quote of his was that it's so similar to the Holmes quote. It's talking about how consciousness moves through us and in everything we are and do and becomes our life. And David Bohm found this fascinating as well, because he was someone who was deeply immersed in the study of quantum theory. And he related Krishnamurti's idea of consciousness to the idea in quantum physics of the observer and the observed, which I know we've talked about before. The idea is that this undivided wholeness of everything in the universe is filled with waves of potential, and that these waves transform or collapse into particles, and in our life we would call it form or experience, and that when they are observed by a consciousness, by our putting our attention and our focus on it. And if this sounds familiar, it's because that's exactly what Science of Mind teaches us about the creative process, that the potential that exists within universal mind, when observed or focused on by our point of consciousness, when we put our attention on an idea and feel it, it becomes our experience. It is consciousness that begins the process of creation, from waves to particles, from thought to form. And the narrator in this video that I watched about Bohm's, he summed up David Bohm's ideas so perfectly that I transcribed it so I could share it with you. And, you know, I know I've mentioned this before, but I'm always inspired when I hear scientists speaking about what I would call the mystical or the spiritual aspect of life. So I'm going to share this thing that I transcribed from the video. It was near the end of the video. Hang on a second. There's the Krishnamurti Code. Here it is. I love this. If we aspire to go beyond our present state of consciousness, if we truly want to be happier, to love and know ourselves better, to regain meaning and wholeness, the old disciplines only serve to deepen the illusion of the manifest reality. So there he's saying that if we believe that what we've already experienced and what form has already shown up in our life is real, then we make that more real, and we can't move into the new. And so he went on, we must look beyond the veil of form to a realization of the oneness present in you, in me, the universe, and everything. When we grasp this, it will put us on the threshold of what is real and our place in reality. I love this line. Reality is wholeness, undivided wholeness. That is the perfection and the allness of the divine presence that we live, move, and have our being in. And this, to me, is what moves us out of what is into what can be. By opening the door of a new possibility, we easily let go of the old. Slightly different take on releasing and letting go. We don't have to think about what we want to let go. We effortlessly move into the new when we don't limit ourselves by our previous thoughts and patterns and feelings, but allow something new to open a space and to fill that space with a new idea. We invite in the new idea. And visioning, as I talked about, as I said I would address this week, and I am going to, I promise I'll get there, if only for a minute. It assists us in getting there, into that new, and making that space to move into something new. You know, but I have to say that it really inspires me to hear oneness explained through not only our metaphysical teaching, but also through the lens of science, specifically quantum physics, which illustrates the importance of the principle of the undivided whole, or our oneness. We are empowered by our oneness with an ability to participate with the natural order and the creative nature of this whole of life. The very process of co-creation means that we must be willing to let go of the old and open and allow the new, the now, the what wants to be born, to what is possible within infinite potential, whatever we call it, God, spirit, the all that is. However we think and experience that presence, the undivided whole, as Bohm called it, consciousness, as Krishnamurti called it, the thing itself, as Ernest Holm called it, and all the other names that we give this unifying presence, that speaks to our oneness, and all of these points of view point to our oneness in it and with it. You know, we can't be separate from it in any way, from this organizing principle of life, you know. And you know, I've noticed, I'm sure you've noticed, that spiritual traditions throughout human history have tended to personify this presence, to give it a human likeness. You know, what do they say, that God created us in its image? I think sometimes it's the other way around, that we want to create God in our image, which is understandable, because as human beings, we're all about relationships. And if this divine presence is seen as a person, as a personality, then it's personal to me. It's personal to all of us. Then we can relate to it more easily. And honestly, we have no lack of religious figures to choose from. We have Jesus, Buddha, Lao Tzu, Kuan Yin, the Virgin Mary, Mohammed, so many more. We could go on. And you'll notice that all of these people are people that have exemplified and modeled the qualities of the divine. They exemplify freedom, love, justice, peace, wholeness. They show us what it looks like to have an awakened and an aware consciousness. And they point us to the greatness and the beauty and the light that's already within us. You know, they point us to the idea that we are empowered to do what they did. What did Jesus tell us? You know, in John 14, I wrote it down so I wouldn't get it wrong. I didn't share a slide. He said, I'll tell you the truth. I tell you the truth. Anyone who believes in me will do the same works I have done and even greater, because I am going to be with my Father. I think this was the last part. You know, basically what he said was, hey, I'm leaving, but not to worry, because you're empowered to do exactly what I've done and more. And it's already in you. So great. You know, more and more I realize how any kind of pain or suffering that I really don't want to experience can be such a great touchstone, you know, a cracking open, if you will, for my personal spiritual growth. Because when we find ourselves in the midst of any painful situation, very often, I would say all the time, there is something new on the horizon, inviting us in, waiting for us. And that's the value in learning to release and let go. There it is. You know, I read a story about a man who was in a wheelchair. I love the story. I'm just going to give you a snippet of it. And he said that people would often ask him, is it difficult for you to be confined to the wheelchair? And he said he would always respond by saying, I'm not confined to my wheelchair. I'm liberated by it. If it wasn't for my chair, I'd be bedbound and I'd never be able to leave my room or my house. You know, and can you feel the difference in those two perspectives? One is constrictive and confined and bound, and the other is free and open and liberated. And it's in that felt experience of a thought or an idea that we attract more of that same experience. That's the nature of how it works. How we feel is that magnetic attraction of more experience. We call that forward. Which brings me back to the idea of visioning, because this is the purpose of visioning, to invite in a new idea, new experience, to let it be alive in us. And it's an opportunity to identify what might be holding us back and to move past it effortlessly. I heard another story about a young man who was having what he thought was a serious relationship talk with his first, I should say, real significant other. And he says to her that he just wants to attract the right person into his life. And without skipping a beat, she said, everybody's looking for the right person and nobody is trying to be the right person, which stopped the young man in his tracks. And that's what visioning is. Visioning is becoming the right person. Visioning is preparing our internal environment to support a new idea, to attract into our experience our highest good, and to open ourselves to Spirit's vision of what that looks like. Because I don't know about you, but I don't always know exactly what that is going to look like. And most of you, I'm sure, know that visioning was first designed by Dr. Michael Beckwith, who's the founder of Agape up in Los Angeles. I think he started that center in 1986. Interesting, that was the year that Krishnamurti died. Anyway, visioning is the spiritual practice where we go into a meditative or a quiet, contemplative state. We connect with our inner source, that infinite field of potential within us, and we ask empowering questions. And we listen not only with our head, but also with our heart. And we open to receive insight and clarity and wisdom from that source. Now, Beckwith says that usually people ask disempowering questions. I like this. I never thought about this before he said this, but it's true. We ask questions like, why is this happening to me? Or what did I do wrong? Or, we ask disempowering questions that paint us as the victim. But visioning invites us to ask empowering questions. What must I release and what must I become? What is Spirit's highest vision for my life? What must I internalize in line with to draw forward this infinite potential that's already available to me? And, I have to say that in all honesty, when I first started visioning, I found it a little bit unclear because I was confusing visioning with goal setting or planning. And while, the end result can help us to form or define some action plan, some action item, the initial process is about catching a new vision, not about goal setting. We look for things in the information that we receive, things that are a little less practical. I don't know how else to put it. We look for things or themes that show up like through the repetition or through similarities when we compare our visioning with others, or in categories or in metaphors even. And we also pay attention to the feeling tone of the vision, because the feeling tone is, as I said earlier, that energetic magnet, if you will, that attracts the new into our life. The thing about visioning, and that is, it's really easy to move into problem-solving mode and to get stuck in whatever preconceived ideas that we brought to the visioning process. And that's not really what it's all about. The idea of visioning is to open to new ideas, to new information and feeling that we've never experienced before. We have to make space for a new vision to come forward. One of the most empowering questions I think that we ask in the visioning process is today's topic, which is release and let go. What must we ask in the process? What must I release to allow the new vision? What must I let go of to make the space to invite in and make welcome this new idea? It helps us to name the old and say, okay, enough, let's move on. It kind of becomes this jumping off place to open to the new. Say, for example, say I'm visioning for ways in which, or a new way of being to invite in abundance and prosperity in my life, and I might realize that I've been holding on to ideas and feelings of lack and limitation and constriction. But from that recognition alone, I can move into a new way of feeling, a new way of being, and freedom and flow and expansion. And I can make that experience, or that feeling, I should say, welcome, to attract and invite in a new experience. When we stop and identify a thought or a feeling that kind of makes us feel uncomfortable, that is causing some kind of discomfort in our life, we can use it. We can use it to move into that something new. And I know that we talk about this all the time, but it's just so true that I have to state the obvious. Gratitude is probably the most powerful tool to use to shift us out of the old way of being and into the welcoming of the new. And I just want to say that this Tuesday, I wrote in the e-newsletter, you might have seen it, that I was going to do an evening of spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer in our Tuesday evening Zoom meeting. But after writing my talk and thinking about it all week, I think what I really should do is change that to a visioning evening. So I invite you to join me on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time to do a visioning for whatever it is that you would like to draw forward in your life. And I'll go more into the details of it when we had our convention last couple of weeks ago online for the entire Centers for Spiritual Living. I went to Reverend Jeffrey Ryan's workshop, and it was entitled, okay, we visioned, now what? And I got some wonderful insights that I would love to share with you from that. I took notes. I still have the main points, and I'd love to share them with you. So I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday if you would like to put this into practice. And I would like to invite you this week to ask yourself empowering questions. To ask yourself when you feel uncomfortable or distraught about anything, just go, oh, why am I feeling that way? What am I believing? And what can that open me up to? And what can I use this discomfort? How can I use it as a touchstone to open me up to what is wanting to be born, to what is sitting on the horizon of my life? And that I am already intimately connected to through this undivided whole that I am a part of. For everything in its perfection is present right where I am, because I am a center of creation, a center of transformation. So I invite you now to take in a deep centering breath with me as I move into a spiritual mind treatment. I know that all there is God, spirit, life, the all that is, the undivided whole, the resonance of its perfection and its beauty and its love and its resourcefulness. And I know that as I am one with this, all of the people that are on this call and all the people that are not on this call are one with that as well. The entire expression of creation, the manifest body of spirits, gods, this undivided whole, life's creation is one within this activity and loving presence of and allness. So I speak my word for and about all of life, each and every person here present, all of life. That there is a shift in consciousness, a recognition of what has been, and an opening and an acceptance and a welcome mat of what is yet to move through us as our good, as our perfection, as love, as compassion, as kindness, as wholeness, as prosperity. You name the quality, it exists there. We draw it forward into our experience now, and we sit in gratitude for it. For gratitude is that creative enzyme, that catalyst that makes it all even more true and meaningful within our point of individualized expression of consciousness. Oh, so I just sit in that gratitude. I open even further to knowing that what I am speaking into divine law right here, right now, says yes. It has no choice. For my point of expression of consciousness is beginning this process of creation, and it has no choice but to come to fruition. So I just sit in that gratitude. I sit in that truth of being. I allow it to be. I know that all is already so. And together we signify our agreement by saying, and so it is. Oh, my goodness. So let's take in a nice deep. And this is our time for conscious giving, which is another spiritual practice. It's a practice of gratitude. It's a practice of the recognition of our wholeness, the recognition of the prosperity that is already available within us. And we know that as we give, that is how we receive. And there are a few ways that you can give to our center. And I want to say how much I appreciate the continued support that flows in from our listening force of this gratitude and this loving support. You can give on Venmo, you can give untitledly, or you can send a snail mail check to our assistant treasurer, Jim Mastapus. I know we have the address posted in the chat room. And I invite you to imagine that you are holding your financial gift in your hand or over your heart. And the attitude in which you give is the attitude in which you receive. So I wash myself in a sense of deep gratitude, and prosperity, and oneness. And I invite you to say this affirmation with me. I recognize that my gift is an instrument of the energy and the love of God. As it flows from me, it uplifts and advances all life, including mine. I give and receive joyously. I am so grateful. And so it is. Trying to remember who is doing our closing prayer. I knew when I wrote it down, but let's see. It is Relaine. Relaine is doing our closing prayer today.
Wow. So let's just feel that wonderful energy of Reverend Michelle's talk, of Ernest Holmes and Michael Beckwith and all the wonderful people she spoke about. That's all in and of and through us, because we are the center of spirit, the center of all the aspects of God. And with gratitude for the service for each and every one of us, for this oneness, one, that Ernest Holmes says that we are, that we know and we feel and we believe. Just knowing that this space for us to be with ourselves and with spirit, with our body and mind and soul, it's just amazingly, amazingly wonderful. So let's just together release this prayer into divine law, the whole service, everything, and the truth of who we are by simply saying, and so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Relaine. That was beautiful. Leslie, do we have, I changed the Tuesday evening thing, so you don't have to announce that. Last minute change. So Michelle to do that.
It's interesting that you did that, because I had this feeling that it really was not going to be the topic that it said it was going to be.
And that was true.
Tuesday evening, our topic is going to be about visioning, led by Reverend Michelle. And it's a powerful process, having participated that many times before. And then Wednesday, is Maureen Bishop's book on What If It Is All Right? And a reminder that if you would like to have spiritual mind treatment right after the service, that's possible. You simply go to the chat room and let the host know that's what you want to do, and it will be made possible for you.
Yeah, we can move into individual rooms. Maureen, I wondered if you had anything to say about our
Just
Wednesday.
this week, we're going to be talking about the creative process, and the piece we're going to be talking about is feeling. So we're taking it one step deeper from thought to feeling.
Thank you.
Possibilities. It's all the same message. Thanks.
Oh, how usual.
Okay. Any other announcements from anyone? Okay, Richard, we are ready for our ending song.
I think we're singing Use Me because that just seems so appropriate. Use me through this process.
Got the words? There we go. Everybody, use me. Oh God, I stand for you. And here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. I used to think God was the sun. Oh, God is the sun. But God's so much more than the earth and the stars are all of creation. God is creator, all in all, needing us to shine its light as me, as you. Oh, so use me. Oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Command my hands, what must they do? Command my life, it's here for you. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, makes all things new. And God needs us to shine his light as me, as you. So use me. Oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do. Show me.
Yay! Show me. Thank you, Richard. That was beautiful. Oh. Well,